Hi, I'm Greg VADNEY, the Executive Director of the Rahr West Art Museum, and I want to introduce you to the Art of Tablesetting. Now, Mrs. West, Rahr West, founded this particular exhibit in 1974. The idea was simple. How do we merge a great collection of artwork with something as basic and human as setting the table? The Art of Tablesetting. Enjoy nearly 40 tables of art and home merged, from the elegant to the buzzworthy. Many of our tables are inspired by memory. Memories of family gathering around the table. It's the most human of memories. Other ideas take off in all sorts of outrageous directions. They're inspired by whimsical fairy tales, some of our art pieces. The only encumbrance for a table setting is the capacity of the designer's imagination. Again, we hope you enjoy how we set our table.
For almost 30 years, the simple and functional roles of tables and eating implements have found a place as an art form in the galleries of the Rahr West Art Museum. The tradition of the art of table setting. In 1974, Mrs. Rahr West decided to organize an exhibit of tables with decorations inspired by a work of art and invited her friends to join her. This soon became an annual tradition, and Mrs. West created tables with themes as varied as safari, bonsai, and disco. The Rahr West Art Museum is proud to keep the annual tradition alive, engaging members of the public each year in creating tablescapes inspired by works of art.
The Art of Tablesetting was devised by Mrs. West and took place in the Vilas Rahr mansion of what was then known as the Rahr Civic Center and Museum. 22 table settings were included that first year under the banner of Still Life and Creative Table Settings. The exhibit ran for only 1 week. As the museum underwent a large expansion in the late 1970s, so too did the art of table setting. With more space came more designers, and also the artistic scope of the exhibit stretched. As the art of table setting became an annual institution in the 1980s, Mrs. West continued to shepherd along new artists and table designers. Eventually, the Art of Tablesetting was moved to the month of October. It seemed appropriate during the traditional harvest season to celebrate this artistic setting of tables.
I'm Shirley FESSLER. I'm here today with my husband, Bill FESSLER. The first time that I did the table setting was in 1986, and it's been a pleasure for me to do it each year. I think it's good community spirit when all of us get together and show off. Everybody wants to show off a little bit of their talent. And also many of us have many collectibles and treasures in our homes that we've been keeping for many years. So we like to display them and have the community see them.
My name is Jim Day, and this is my table setting. It's my third year here at Rahr West Art Museum for doing this event, which I think is really a special thing for the community. For people to come and see some of the artwork that is here at Rahr West Art Museum, and to be able to pick out a favorite painting or picture and then design a table around that. It's something that Rahr West started back in 1974, which I just think was a phenomenal idea and has grown over the years, from what I understand, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Hi, I'm Tina PRIGGE, and this is my first year doing a table setting design. I designed this table, Seize the Day, on the coolest coast with my mom, Diane Salzman. And it's really special to us because since I was a little girl, my mom has been bringing me to the art of table settings. And so we're talking 40 plus years that we've been coming to enjoy them. We've always said, you know, someday we should design a table together, and finally that day has come.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Hansen.
And I'm Gary Hansen.
We did it last year for the first time, and I was a nervous wreck about it. I must have called Melissa a dozen times because I didn't know. It said write a description. How do I write a description? Well, she gave me samples. And then I said, well, what do I do about setting this up or that up? She said, well, come and look at some of the other pieces we've had in the past. So she was extremely helpful, which made everything much easier. And again, the second year is so much more simple because you're just more relaxed and you have a better feel.
And my role really has been just to be the expediter. As somebody said, just be the one that hauls stuff around, be supportive for Cheryl and say, yes, this looks great, or maybe we should do it this way. And kind of bouncing ideas off her too. But really, she's been the inspiration behind all this.
Thanks.
And without her, I don't think it would have gotten done.
Hi, I'm Chris Abel, and I'm here to talk about the table setting message from home, which I did with my sisters, which is kind of in a way nice to do because always when you're with your sisters, you're reminded of home anyway. I started doing table settings just a couple of years ago. Always like to come and see them every year, really enjoyed them, and finally decided rather than just be a watcher, actually be a participant, and we really found it fun and interesting. The museum has so many great works of art, and it's fun to go through the catalog and choose something to do, to maybe try and bring it more awareness, because I don't think most of us appreciate just how many really wonderful pieces of art the Rahr has got. So that's really one of the things that we enjoy doing, besides working together on it as a family and talking about why we like the artwork. There's usually a fair amount of haggling over which artwork we're going to use, so that's always a good week of discussion.
The table setting that I did this year are calendar plates. And calendar plates were first come to being in 1906. And merchants throughout the United States and other countries gave the calendar plates to their customers. And of course, at the time, they only cost a few cents. Comparably, now they cost about $9 or $10 a plate. And each one of the merchants had their names placed on the calendar plate, and also the city and state where the merchant was from. And I know that so many people were happy to get these plates and have really cherished them throughout the whole United States. And I have quite a few that came from Manitowoc County.
Last year when I did my table setting, I knew what painting I wanted immediately. It's one that had been hanging in the museum that I had seen for a number of years, that I wanted to design my table. But I was going through the catalog and looking at some other pictures, and I came across this. It's not a watercolor, it's a citron, which is similar to a watercolor, but it's by a Wisconsin artist called, his name is Carl PRIGGE. And I've been a fan of his for years. I have a number of pieces myself in my own collection. I think I've got 8 now that I've been collecting over the years. This is actually a self-portrait that he did in 1951. He was pretty famous for doing postcards at holiday time. He knew famous people like Billie Holiday and other artists and actors, and he'd send them a Christmas postcard every year and sign it and put sayings around. So he's kind of an unusual artist. But this one, it's a little surreal and just has this feeling, this magical feeling to me, and I like the colors in it. And I had some dishes that I had bought a number of years ago in Palm Springs, California, which are a bit mid-century, and just have that kind of flow and the colors that go well with it. I tried to pick up some of the items that are in the painting with the owl and incorporate those. If you see on both her hands, she's got rings, and I used for my napkin rings, which look like kind of larger diamond rings.
So the way we chose our design, we looked through the collection and we immediately fell in love with this painting, Cargo Sunrise, because it reminded us so much of life right here in Manitowoc on the coolest coast. And so from that painting, we took our inspiration and designed a whole breakfast theme about having breakfast on the coolest coast, or seizing the day, seize, S-E-A-S, the little play on words, seize the day on the coolest coast. So it's a charming little breakfast with a nautical theme of something you might find right here in Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
And this is our table setting. we had the Victrola, and we thought, how could we incorporate that in a table setting for the Rahr? And when we first had our idea last year, COVID wasn't around, so it was just going to be a very different display. But as we had to stay home more and more often, we got thinking, let's entitle it Quiet Evenings at Home. And if I can just show you that we have our tea set and a little decanter that I figured someone could put a little nip of whiskey in their tea, and then a book, and we just tried to make it cozy because most of us are spending so much time at home.
We've always really loved this picture, which is really an interesting painting. And recently, the artist has gone into a even more minimalist than this picture sort of thing. And I was drawn to the fact that there's very little on it. 2 basic colors, orange and blue, one primary, one secondary. I thought that was really interesting with the neutral tone. So we tried to sort of do that with our setting, so we went with Wedgwood because it has really the flavor and the colors of the original picture, and then the oranges. And because in his recent exhibits, he's been talking a lot about the Imagist poets, we put a copy of Imagist poets poems on there too, because recently he's been marrying his artwork with some of their poetry at exhibits he does, so we thought that was a nice way to tie those together.
And Mrs. West was a very gracious person, and she just wanted to have people be part of the community, because she and Mr. West were so much a part of Manitowoc County, and they wanted to share everything that they had with Manitowoc County. I can express an appreciation for art, and though I am not a professional artist, it makes me feel good to be able to put together something in artwork for other people in the community to appreciate, because I think all of this that we have at the museum is to be able to share with the people in our community and elsewhere, because I know there are people that come from other communities in other parts of Wisconsin to see the table setting, and everybody has told me it's wonderful, and they wished they were doing something like this in their community.
Lived in California for a little over 44 years and moved back, and when I moved back, I moved up to Manitowoc. And I came to the museum that's here, the Rahr West Art Museum, and saw it was such a wonderful place. And the first year I was back, when coming to visit the museum, I saw this whole table setting idea that they did. And I just thought, what a great idea. As I said before, for just people to get involved in the actual artwork that's here, and you get to see so many more pieces that people bring out of things that are in storage by looking through the inventory. So I put my name in for the following year, which I got chosen. And the first year, my first table, I did a table designed that kind of commemorated our woodland dunes up in Two Rivers. Then last year I said I picked a painting that hangs in the museum, which was a Victorian painting with this woman in formal dress getting ready to go out, and there was this cockatoo standing or perched on a chair, which I just always loved that painting. So this year it's totally different, which is more mid-century modern and a much different type of painting. And I've already looked through the catalog and have one picked out for next year if I get chosen to come back.
And so one thing I've always really enjoyed about the table settings, for example, coming to visit them with my mom, it was almost like studying a Norman Rockwell painting. There's always a story, there's always something happening. And so we would look at all of the different artistic table settings and, try to understand the story and discover what was behind the setting. So we really felt like that played into our design.
Well, we like to look around at different ideas people have and different ways they display things. And we've seen so many unique table settings of all different varieties of not only artwork, but ways of displaying your dishes and themes and everything else, that I found it very inspirational just to look at, see what people have done for their own displays here.
We have family night every other week, and so then the kids are always, well, Grandma, you gonna put a tablecloth on, we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that. So it incorporates family, and again, the creativity around here really gives you excellent ideas.
And I like the idea too that it's a scheduled opportunity for us to come to the Rahr. Because a lot of times, yes, the Rahr is here and we drive by it multiple times every week, but we don't think to stop in because it's like, well, it's still there. Now there's something that's new, something that's different, and it's fun just to get out and look through it all.
Always enjoy coming to the Rahr. I think it's a great place for families. One of the things I think is great about the table settings every year is that it brings people into the Rahr, not just physically, but also the way they think and the things they value. And it's a great chance to go through and learn more about our whole community, because it's really a chance for everybody to share. And it's a chance for everybody to share both their understanding of art, what they're getting from certain works of art, and some of the things that they like and enjoy. So I really enjoy those things. And really, I really think some of the most interesting conversations that I've had in my life are conversations around the table where, while people eat and people talk and people have the ability to share their views in a friendly way where everybody feels free to really express themselves. And I think this whole exhibit is just another reflection of that opportunity to sit together and spend time sharing our thoughts.
Grew up out in the country. My father worked a number of miles away in Milwaukee, commuted back and forth every day, and every night we all had to sit down at the table when my father got home. My mother would make a dinner, we'd have a table set, and we all sat around and talked about our day and what we did. And it just, growing up, I was brought up with that. My mother would always set a nice table, and I think of when, and now that I'm older and I've grown up and we have friends and do dinner parties, I always try and set a nice table. And a lot of times people will remember your table setting or what you did as a table and not remember what you made for dinner.
On a personal level, you know, sitting down to a meal with friends, with family, it's one of the most special and intimate moments where you can talk, share stories, just simply be together breaking bread. You know, especially one of my favorite holidays is Thanksgiving, where we sit down. My mom always has a beautiful spread, you know, her fanciest dishes and flatware, and so it's very special, and I love that experience of sitting down to a meal. And so the Art of Table Settings is just a beautiful concept, a really beautiful exhibit where you get to see these glimpses of how people have imagined setting their tables.
So I hope everybody enjoys them.
Going Home. Designers Janice Wolowitz, Lita Appel, and Nina Saucerman. For this table setting, we have chosen the Poppy Trail pattern by Metlocks. There was a time when people might have a few pieces to mix with their everyday china. Side dishes were important to bring the garden to the table. We are reminded of the importance of going home to a warm environment as we enjoy this pattern at the dinner table. Added elements are from our homes, and the picture, Libby, is from the Rahr West collection. Gone Fishing. Designers Deborah Drouar and Karen Boucher. The mischievous grin on the face of the young boy in Lester Bentley's painting, Portrait of a Boy, brought back so many happy memories of our own sons. We imagine the boy in the painting hurriedly eating so he can head out on his fishing trip. We chose our table setting items to coordinate with the colors in the painting and to reflect the boy's love of fishing. The tackle box, fishing pole, and boots are from Karen's family. Autumn Leaves. Designers Janet Dorsey and Ruth Gerstner. Is there better inspiration for an autumn table setting than a look out the window on a sunny October day? Our favorite time of year occurs when Mother Nature, like an artist, opens her full palette of colors and paints our world in beautiful hues, some radiant, some subdued. The autumn-themed painting, which provides a backdrop for the tablescape, also lends inspiration for our choice of table appointments. The Iris Cafe. Designers Cheryl Koppelman, Linda Wallander, Mindy Peters, and Donna Nye. We hope that our table setting whisks you away to a small cafe on one of the many Greek isles. It is named for the Greek goddess Iris. In Greek mythology, she carried messages from heaven to earth on the arc of a rainbow. It was believed she was a companion to women on their way to heaven. The iris is often planted on the graves of women in Greece today. Home Sweet Home. Designers George Mazonik, Marilyn Craning, and Bob Mazonik. Our setting depicts a table ready for supper after a hard day's work on the farm in the early 1940s. The country is at war, money is scarce, and luxuries are rare, but patriotism runs high. The artwork we have chosen is an original newspaper portrait of General Douglas MacArthur, published April 1942 in the Milwaukee Journal. The Home Sweet Home print is an early 20th century example of chromolithography. Our table display features everyday dishes and flatware that are simple and unadorned but durably functional, as many folks had to make do with what they had. Tea time. Designers Sue Druschke and Jennifer Johnson. We are grateful to once again be participating in the art of table settings. Our idea came to life when Sue showed Jennifer the quilted table runner she had recently completed. Ironically, Jennifer had purchased a tea set at St. Vincent de Paul that matched the dishes in the fabric. Our mutual love of quilting, dishes, and tea helped to establish our theme. Using the art from the Rahr West brings everything together. Seize the day on the coolest coast. Designers Diane Salzman and Tina Prigge. Cargo's sunrise painting inspired our nautical breakfast theme, Seize the day on the coolest coast. The flavor of breakfast on the coolest coast is evidenced in the uniquely fish-shaped chargers, topped with crystal rowboat filled with grapes, fish motif flatware, ship's helm cutting board with bread and cheese, coolest coast coffee mugs, and hand-carved wooden centerpiece evocative of driftwood found along Lake Michigan. The lake blue tablecloth is covered in an authentic fishing net. Breakfast is said to be the most important meal for seizing the day. This charming breakfast is our interpretation of seize the day. The color pink. Designer Gail Miller. Garden Flowers by artist Frank Martin is part of the Rahr West collection. The color pink evokes feelings of peace, compassion, and love. It is also the color of nurturing and understanding. The artist inspired me to display pink with the focus on my heirloom Bavarian china. The pattern contains small pink roses. The green in the painting is captured in my depression glass. Happy Easter. Designer Teresa Brendemühl. I have always loved Easter Sunday. As a kid, my sisters and I would run around the house looking for our candy-filled Easter baskets. Then we would put on our Sunday dresses for Easter service. Now, as an adult, the truth of the greatness of our Savior's resurrection makes celebrating Easter so much more meaningful. I always loved Easter colors too. The pastel colors are so innocently pleasing to me. Nothing means new birth like those colors. Terrier moment with tea and tarts. Designers Catherine Brown and Ronald Brown. My friend Barb Panache, age 84, passed away this January. She would stop in for a cup of tea. We would sit outdoors and enjoy nature, including my irises and hummingbirds. After a brief visit, I would go back to my farm work. Barb was off to an estate sale, bus trip, card party, garden tour, Meals on Wheels delivery, family gathering, Shizzle Lake fishing, Rahr West Art Museum volunteering, mushroom hunt, Manitowoc Symphony, canoe trip, church event, or Branch River crawdad catch. Barb is greatly missed by many. Happy memories make warm companions. Unexpected beauty. Designers Beth Ratledge and Lynn Peters. Our parents loved the outdoors, and as children we spent lots of time exploring nature. They taught us from a young age to identify birds and flowers from books, always out on a dining room cabinet. When we found ladies' slippers in the museum's catalog, we were reminded of the many times we discovered a single beautiful flower in the middle of an otherwise ordinary forest. Our table setting represents lunch on a warm, sunny day with those wildflowers books that we still use and enjoy. Transition, fall to Christmas. Designer Marcia McGlynn. I picked this theme to show the beauty of fall on one side of the table to the wonder of winter on the other side. With fall-colored leaves and snowflakes, a fall and winter afghan, glass mirror and tree in center, and pictures on the wall show the beauty of fall and wonder of winter. Inspiration. Designers Carol Wright and Gail Leith. My display is inspired by the passions of a creative childhood neighbor. She hand-painted the tea set she later gifted to me. The fond memories of my family and friends gathering at tea rooms are a treasure. The table cover is a piece I stitched for her. She was an avid knitter, which led me to work and teach in a yarn shop. Sewing, quilting, knitting, tea, gardening, and cooking have brought great joy to my life, and I am grateful for the friends I have made that share the same passions. Heirlooms and traditions. Designer Sam Barbercheck. Every year between Christmas and New Year's, our family gathers at Nana's house for a baking day. Here, we make traditional foods such as lefse, almond tarts, rosettes, and crumb cake. We take turns rolling out the lefse using the rolling pins brought from Norway. As we gather around the old oak table, lefse isn't the only thing made this day. Lots of memories are rolled out too. Winter porch. Designer Joyce Sorensen. This print of a white 2-3-story house by longtime Ohio resident Billy Jacobs reminded me of my grandparents' rural farmhouse near Clark's Mills. This artist often paints rural countrysides which depict the simple American lifestyle of days gone by. The print brought to mind a heartwarming nostalgia and wistfulness of the many memorable occasions and celebrations that took place at my grandparents' home during my childhood. I chose vintage white milk glass Fire King kitchenware manufactured between 1942 and 1976 to complement my setting, which also coincides with my childhood. Message from Home. Designers Christopher Abel, Kathleen Penkoffer, Susan Abel Berry. This highly realistic work by Richard Emery Nicholson actually presages his current minimalism. The realism belies the dominant negative space and bold primary and secondary colors. We have a lovely Wedgwood hibiscus setting with its blue and gold to complement the work, and a single setting to match the isolation and separation it evokes. As Nicholson has recently cited the Imagist poets as a major source of inspiration, we include a collection of their works. One can easily imagine this painting as a poem by William Carlos Williams. Window of Opportunity. Designers Beth Klabitz, Barb Gutchow, and Ginny Lauka. During the challenging times of COVID-19, the feeling of restriction has been present for many. The key to freedom, however, lies in the lens through which we view life. Might it be, with so many of life's distractions stripped away, that we are offered the opportunity to clear our table and find more peace? Let us mindfully ask ourselves, what is enough? What do we value? What are we grateful for? What does nature have to teach us? Breathe. Use this window of opportunity to reset your table. I love cherries. Designer Renee Lemberger. Cherries. Did someone say cherries? Have a seat to enjoy a cherry pie. Cherries are a colorful fruit when ripe. But wait, the blossoms of this fruit-bearing tree with its white pinkish hue is also colorful in the spring with the hopes of no frost. Don't want to ruin this precious crop. Picking cherries is a family outing originally started by my great-grandparents and continues today. When we are through picking, we go home to pit, make jam, or freeze the fruit. Cherries can be used for toppings, pies, torts, and wines. No matter how cherries are used, they are always delicious. Calendar Plates Memories. Designers Bill and Shirley FESSLER. The first calendar plates were manufactured about 1906. Our collection of calendar plates began about 50 years ago. History tells us they were given by merchants, free instead of paper calendars. Merchants paid about 20 cents per plate, which would be about $6 today. This would have been the first piece of china many homes had. Calendar plates from Wisconsin and Manitowoc County, P.J. Bondi 1912 Manitowoc, J.P. Watt 1909 Maple Grove, Hessel 1909 Francis Creek, Stangl 1911 Tisch Mills, Knorr 1910 School Hill, Finkston 1917 Mishicot, Natsky 1919 Wayside, and Miata Sizik 1910 Manitowoc. The Last Dance of the Flowers by award-winning British fine art photographer Kirsty Mitchell. Designers Mary Sizzler and Laurie Henry Gillis. For anyone who has lost someone dear, the pain of moving on can be paralyzing. Kirsty Mitchell struggled after her mother Maureen's death from cancer. She found a purpose in publishing the book Wonderland, in which she created the concepts, made the costumes, and photographed a fantasy world which reminded her of the magical childhood stories her mother read to her. Our inspiration was her journey to healing. Escape with us for a moment to Wonderland. The Magic Flute. Designer James Day. I chose Magic Flute by Wisconsin artist Carl PRIGGE from the Rahr West Art Museum collection, as I enjoy his paintings and have a small collection of my own. They are mysterious and magical, and all seem to have a story hidden within them. When I saw this painting, I thought of a set of dishes I have by Rosenthal I purchased in Palm Springs years ago. Combined, they inspired me to create this mid-century themed table setting. Transformation. Designers Tracy Wiebenson, Jennifer Bessert, and Becky Hoffman. Autumn. An equal balance of light and dark. Nature pauses, leaving behind the craziness of summer. We take a deep breath, slowing down for the coming transformation. It's time to let go. Transformation is also about what we preserve. It's the time of the great harvest. We transform our garden harvest into energy for the winter. We can do the same with our creative energies. We retreat indoors and focus on cultivating a safe and comforting home. Autumn offers us a chance to reconnect with ourselves. We become more giving. Captain's Table. Designers Tracy Foles and Sandy Foles. The sea and its inhabitants have always been an interest to both of us, and it brought the theme of this table setting to life. The captain picture has been in our family for over 40 years. It was given to Sandy from her mother as an anniversary present. The lantern was a cool find during one of our thrifting trips. These table settings have been a way for Mom and I to work on a project together and have given us something to enjoy coordinating and looking forward to throughout the year. Country Memories.
Designers Diane Wilson, Ellen Wilson, Tracy Wilson Stoner, and Charles R. Wernicke.
Many delightful memories come to mind that have been experienced within our lovely, local country atmosphere. Growing up, this complete set of dinnerware was lovingly referred to as my grandmother Groth's daisy dishes. Gracing our table for special occasions, as it still does, it lives in the built-in china closet of our log farmhouse, constructed in the late 1800s. The lifelong home of Friedrich and Bertha Kuhn's Groth, the original family homestead log house, the Kuhn's House, now stands on exhibit at the Manitowoc County Historical Society at Pinecrest Village. Eye of the Storm. Designer Chris Kuba. Joseph Hidley's bucolic arc loading was, inversely, a raucous, chaotic scene abetted by derisive locals, even kinsfolk. Think you know sequestration? Imagine 40 days and nights of unrelenting rain afloat with a smelly, clamoring menagerie needing feeding, watering, mucking out. Now, join Noah and family gathering around a crude table of simple, nourishing food. A respite from worry and duty, touching hands, cajoling, encouraging, while humbly thanking God for His miraculous care and saving grace in their time of turmoil. Let us gather at the table gratefully remembering we have each other and miracles still happen. Gather at the table. Designers Beverly Kolarick, Mary Shue. Who doesn't like the colors of fall? When I saw these plates, I knew I wanted them for my fall and Thanksgiving meals. They were first used on my table to entertain my parents, siblings, and their families, and my own growing family. Now they grace my table shared with my children and grandchildren, hopefully to be passed down to the next generation. Enjoy the warm colors of fall and smile at all the memories made, and forever be thankful. Birds of a Feather Flock Together. Designers Deanna Nearing and Jody Dubinsky. Birds of a Feather Flock Together was brought on by friends shopping, eating, and laughing together. Birds' nests for plates and twigs for silverware. Water glasses with frogs. The centerpiece, a bird cage with a bird nestled in a nest. On either side of the centerpiece are iron trees with birds perched on various branches, showing good friends dining and sharing laughter together. West of Lake. Designers John Balma and Jennifer Balma. Let It Grow. Designers Cindy Schrader and Nancy Randolph. I saw this artwork online and was immediately drawn to it. In a time when there is so much negativity, it reminded me that my perception is my reality. We can choose to fill our heads with beauty, love, and light, and not sit in the anger, hatred, and darkness. I choose to be optimistic about healing and growth. There will be a better tomorrow. Lunch with My Sister. Designer Christine Clearwater. The inspiration for this table setting was my move to Manitowoc in 2019 to live closer to my sister after living out of state for more than 20 years. My sister, Cindy Schrader, has been participating in the Art of Tablesetting for many years. When creating the table setting, I envisioned my sister and I going out for lunch at a local cafe to celebrate one of our birthdays. The greens and blues from Sayre's painting work perfectly with some of the pottery pieces on the table, also made by Wisconsin artists. If smiles had a color, designers Linda Dietrich, Helen Koenig, Dolores Deere. Back in November 2019, Dolores suggested we do something bright and colorful, flashy. What a great idea that came to be. We thought to offer you some cheer by setting a colorful, vibrant, and somewhat silly table to highlight a colorful, vibrant, and somewhat silly art piece. And yes, it's silly. We agree. It makes us smile. What are your favorite smile colors? Wonder what God's favorite is. Well, He created them all, praise the Lord. These table items have been graciously lent for this event by the St. Vincent de Paul store, Kiel, Wisconsin. Quiet Evenings, designers Gary and Cheryl Hansen. Because of the coronavirus, we have all experienced many quiet evenings at home. Our setting takes place in the parlor of the 1888 Victorian home pictured here. A good book, a cup of tea, with a little nip from the decanter, and music from the Victrola all add to the coziness of home. While Kindles have largely replaced books, and Alexa has replaced the Edison records, the feeling of love and the comfort of home remain the same. Childhood memories of mornings on the lakeshore. Designer Jennifer Scher. A warm, familiar aroma of cinnamon French toast sizzling on a gas stove. Steam of a tea kettle whistling. Crisp white caps of Lake Michigan glistening on a sunny morning. Vibrant yellow daffodils announcing spring has arrived. Inspired by cozy mornings with my grandparents, Lake Michigan greeting us through the kitchen window of their bungalow on South 7th Street. Every day was the best day when Grandma insisted that I scramble the eggs with her hand mixer. Messes were celebrated and extra cinnamon sugar was always encouraged. Let's get crackin'. Designer Amy Russell. Levi Wells Prentice created dramatic contrasts within his works of art, usually using a dark outline and vibrant hues to achieve realistic texture and clarity on the objects in his works. My goal is to achieve dramatic contrasts in my table setting using the black tablecloth as my dark outline. Tea Party. Designer Mary Brigham. Gather your tea sets, snacks, summer roses, treasured doll, and grandchildren to enjoy a tea party. Featured in Blue Willow, the prevalent design includes a tea house, pavilion, orange tree, willow tree, a bridge with 3 people on it, and the necessary 2 lovebirds. There is a legend depicted in the design of forbidden lovers who escape and find immortality as lovebirds. The inspiration for this setting is from my granddaughter Taylor. On her visits, we would bring out the Blue Willow Child's tea set, a few favorite stuffed critters, and set up our favorite thing to do. Tea Party. Taste the color. Designers Terry Niquette and Melissa Wendorf. Synesthesia is a condition that describes how some people's senses work together through smell, sight, and taste. A few examples are seeing a color like lemon yellow, which may evoke a sour taste. Light pink might trigger the taste of cotton candy. We hope you can taste the color with us. Guess who's coming to dinner? Designers Linda Miller and Mary Jo Stengel. Don't be afraid. These spooky guests don't eat much. Except perhaps you. A great love of Halloween is the inspiration for this spooktacular table setting. These bony friends are ready to party and Halloween is right around the corner. We could not think of a better theme and hope you enjoy every bewitching detail. Mother Tree and Sons. Designers Debbie Lorgy and Katie Lorgy. Inspired by local artist Ron Stokes' work, Mother Tree and Sons, we sought to bring this family portrait to life on our table. We mimicked the color scheme from the piece and created a setting surrounding the mother, our centerpiece. Mother Tree and Sons and Ron Stokes' lasting influence have become staples in our community, and we honor that in our setting. On September 5th, just one day after submitting our write-up to the museum for our table setting, our dear Katie passed away from a brain aneurysm. We did the table setting together for several years. It was a fun mother-daughter project. We had everything planned and ready to go, so I decided to go through with this with the help and support of my dear friends. Katie is missed terribly and loved by many. The Parlor Painting. Designers Angeline Barberchek and Louette Propson Enders. This painting was displayed in the parlor of my Grandma Alice's childhood home. The bright colors on black velvet create a composition full of contrast that grabs the viewer's attention. The table setting reflects the colors of the painting.
Prospective table setters are selected in a blind draw and are presented a choice in art selection based on the tradition of this exhibition. They can select art from the permanent collection of the Rahr West Art Museum, or they can match their table to artwork from their personal collection. Each individual table setter is given the freedom to create under their own theme. The result is a kaleidoscopic exhibition as diverse and varied as the community of designers who created.